Welcome to the Ins and Outs, where we talk about the villains hidden within our midst. Last week, rabies went rampant in an isolated village in Africa, where an unfortunate young man was intercepted and bitten by a snarling dog salivating excessively. Poverty-stricken and living in a medically insufficient area, the man was unable to obtain post-exposure treatment before he was struck by increasing insomnia and episodes of agitation and hyperactivity. When a local doctor came, they hauled out a photophobic man, shaking with spasms of the muscle in the throat and larynx and dripping with saliva from his mouth. The deep punctures on his arm were significantly larger, as if he experienced intense itching.
And now, we have a special guest coming to join us today. He is known to be one of the toughest type of criminals around, with his long bullet-like structure that is 75 nanometers in width, and he can have a height anywhere between 100 to 300 nanometers. This criminal is well protected with an armor of lipoprotein-enveloped membrane that covers his capsid, and he is well equipped in any breaking and entering situation with his 400 tool-like antigens made of glycoprotein that act like a key to his victim's host cells. He is sure to be a formidable intruder with a capsid filled with ribonucleic protein, or RNP, and other proteins such as the polymerase, phosphoprotein, and nucleoprotein that encase the RNA. The matrix protein also lines the inside for extra protection. Now put your hands together for the criminal mastermind. Introducing Mr. Rabies.
Life is tough as a rabies virus.
Well, tell us about your journey through the poor victim.
It all started when my siblings and I traveled through the man's penetrative skin, his first line of defense. Then we were able to replicate in his muscle cells at the wound site, gaining access to motor end plates and motor axons, peripheral nerves, and subsequently the central nervous system.
Wow, was it hard while traveling through his system?
Well, it was alright. I mean, normally the skin would act as a barrier to protect him from getting infected with diseases, just like the eyes, ears, lysosomes, respiratory system, and digestive system. For the skin route, we had to get past the sweat and oil on the skin. I've heard that the sebaceous and sweat glands also produce chemicals that kill us. They've also got eyelids that limit our entrance into the body, and tears for the eyes that contain the fluid lysosome which kills us off. This happens because lysosomes are enzymes in the mucus, saliva, and tears that break down our cell walls, making it impossible for us to complete our mission. The ears are also well protected. Cerumen, or earwax, produced in the ear canal, protects the canal by trapping dirt and dust particles. The tiny hairs in the ear similarly have the same function. These tiny hairs are also found in the respiratory system, nasal cavity, and throat. In addition to these tiny hairs, the respiratory system and the throat also have mucus, which, as mentioned before, contain lysosomes. I'd say lysosomes are one of our greatest enemies in the first line of defense, as well as the acidity of the saliva or stomach fluid. In our case, we could have gone into his body through his mucous membranes, such as the eyes, nose, or mouth with infected saliva due to aerosol transmission. This type of transmission is rare, but it has happened before through the oral and nasal discharge of bats. Some of our ancestors have once succeeded in completing their mission by traveling through organ transplantations, specifically a cornea, but we chose to travel through the dog's saliva and into his open wound. Another option for us to travel is through the secretions during sexual intercourse.
What about after? I've heard from other prisoners like you that they had to go through something called the second line of defense.
Oh yeah, but that was no big deal. That all comes later on in the story, after we woke up and became active. Basically, the second line of defense in the man system caused the man to get a fever in order to burn us away. He also got encephalitis and meningoencephalitis, which are all reactions from his second line of defense to kill us.
Well, that's not very nice.
But first, did you guys spread anywhere?
Created using Powtoon.